What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 98 of the Finale Podcast. Today I'm joined by Cittilad and Tyler to talk about week 7 of the NFL regular season. Guys, how's it going?
Good.
Going good.
Doing good.
Going well. Of course, we had the bye week last week as Vikings fans. So, stress-free weekend. I was also able to see you guys in person, which was pretty cool. But yeah, let's get into today's topics. So starting off, surprise or disappointment from last week's action, week 6. I'll go first. I'll be honest, I didn't watch too much of this game, but I know it was competitive in the first half. I'm going to say a surprise is the Bucks putting up 50 on the Saints, 51-27, I believe the score was. So like I said, this was close in the first half. The Saints put up all 27 of their points in the second quarter. So the score was 27-24 Saints at halftime, and then just second half, the Bucks put up their 27 in the second half, and the Saints didn't answer at all, 0 points in the second half. I think it was just impressive. Just watching a little bit of the clips from that. Baker Mayfield putting up 300 plus yards, and then the running game, Sean Tucker, 14 carries, 136 yards, and then Bucky Irving as well with 14 carries, 81 yards. They each had a touchdown. Chris Godwin, 11 receptions, 125 yards. Quiet sort of day from Mike Evans, but overall, just really good offensive performance from the Bucks. This was, of course, Spencer Rattler's first start. I thought he did okay. Of course, a couple of interceptions, but I think, he put up a good showing, 243 yards. But I think this was a surprise. I wasn't expecting the Bucks to do this on the road. And obviously that division, with the way the Falcons are playing, those two teams are pretty much neck and neck. They had their overtime game a couple of weeks ago where Kirk Cousins went crazy, 500 yards on a Thursday night. So this is really going to be, a division that could come down to the wire. Obviously, in years past, it's kind of been a laughingstock sort of division, I would say, in the NFL, with how all these teams have kind of underperformed. But I think this is going to be a really good division, really, really good fight to the finish. So it'll be interesting to see how the division plays out. But yeah, that's my surprise. The Bucks putting up 50 on the Saints.
Yeah, to add on that, Rattler was doing pretty good in the first half, and then Todd Bowles, he's a rookie, so just in the heat, and they were shut out in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, my disappointment's got to be the Cowboys. 0 touchdowns, just
of course,
3 field goals. It's like we knew the Lions were a favorite going down there, but they decimated that entire organization for Jerry Jones' birthday as well. That's just sad with CD there and Ferguson, Rico, and Zeke with all the weapons they have, and then I think the only flaw is just Mike Zimmer on defense. So, but yeah, the Lions were just decimated, that entire team, and they even showed them, putting a whole line at wide receiver. So that's how dominant they are. So man, they're disappointed with the Cowboys with their inconsistency. So
for sure, I think overall, this has been a disappointing start for the Cowboys. I know the Saints game as well at home, where they just got handled too, right? So I think overall the defense and Mike Zimmer's arrival probably hasn't been what everybody's expected, but it's still early, and they did have some injuries in that game. I know Micah Parsons wasn't available, so that's something to factor in as well. But yeah, 47-9, that's pretty crazy. I saw Jerry Jones went on this radio show and pretty much got mad at these radio show hosts for asking him about, obviously, do you think the loss contributes to their sort of lack of activity in the off season? And he was just like, that's a crazy question. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. And he's like, I'm not kidding. I'm just like, bro, what do you think they're going to ask you when you lose by damn near 40 points? But anyways, that's
they got 40 balls again at home.
Yeah. Tyler, how about yours?
Yeah. I did have the Cowboys on here, obviously, for the blowout, but don't want to talk too much about them. Moving on to that division, though, I also had the Eagles. They've been just incredibly underwhelming up to this point. They did win last week, barely beating arguably the worst team in the league in the Browns. It's just they're 3-2, but it's an ugly 3-2 at this point. You know, they lost to the Bucks a couple of weeks ago. I just expected to see a lot more from them. I know they've had their injury troubles, of course, but every team has injury troubles every season, and it's about how you overcome those. And they just haven't found a way to really figure that out from like a convincing standpoint. Obviously, 3-2 is a great place to be at right now. If you're not the Vikings, but it's not a very convincing 3-2, and I'm gonna have to see a lot more from them moving forward for them to even really be considered a serious playoff team, let alone a contender.
Do you guys think that the Commanders will hold on and win that division?
Absolutely.
At this point, yeah.
Okay.
At this point in the season, they're looking like the best team in that division.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, they had a great game last week against the Ravens. You know, everyone covered them out, but it was head to head.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, another honorable mention is the Broncos. You know, they were shut out 20-0. You know, just coming up to the fourth quarter. So, and they were the favorites, I believe.
And that mess over there in Jacksonville.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I guess this week in London. But they're just it's a disaster over there. Nothing's working. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to be great necessarily, but they look terrible. I mean, they just can't really figure it out. So
yeah,
getting embarrassed by the Bears is not a good look.
No.
Yeah. Let's get into the league news. So, a couple of big wide receiver trades. Let's start with Davante Adams going to the Jets. I think a lot of people saw this coming. Among the teams mentioned, the Jets and the Saints, of course, with Derek Carr. So, what do you guys think Davante Adams brings to the Jets, and do you think that's going to be able to kind of change their ways in terms of getting some wins on the board now, with them having like such a really elite defense and the offense not really coming together as much?
Yeah, I feel like it's a comfort zone for Rodgers to have that extra, you know, familiarity and that chemistry with Davante. So and he knows that Davante will run the right routes and catch the right balls and make those plays. So just him being with Rodgers and their chemistry, I feel like they'll probably work it out. But also, you know, guys will look to Davante more as a double team that will bring out, you know, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall in that offense as well. But otherwise, you know, they look good for the past 2 weeks. It's just, you know, guys just got to make plays.
Kickers got to make kicks. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. This was one of the top targets we had in mind. Just made a lot of sense for both parties. The Raiders obviously not getting that absolute second rounder they hope, but they do get the conditional third rounder that could possibly turn into a second rounder, but probably won't based on what's needed for it. But I think the biggest thing to remember here is Davante Adams didn't want to play there. So them being able to unload the remainder of his $140 million contract, you know, it frees up some space moving forward. They get some draft compensation instead of just losing him for nothing. So I think overall, good trade for both parties. And then, like you were saying, for the Jets, it's more than just getting that top tier talent. You get that chemistry and that connection. You know, Davante is a guy that Rodgers has shown that he trusts and he relies on in late game situations, which he doesn't really seem to have right now. So I think it just makes a lot of sense. And yeah, it'll probably open up a lot more opportunities for some of these other guys too.
100%. Like he's already brought in, well, he's played a part in them bringing in Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb in the past. So like, I'm sure this was kind of a move that he would have liked, especially with the chemistry sort of issues with the receivers. He mentioned how Mike Williams ran the wrong route on that last play of the game, and now he's on the trade block. So coincidence there, I don't know.
The Aaron Rodgers effect.
I will say, like, it is definitely a thing. Like, if you have the receivers and the quarterback on the same accord, you're really going to be successful as an offense. So I think with the running game, especially getting going, with Braylon Allen, Brees Hall. Like they're going to be a really good team. Offensively, they have the weapons. It's just about putting it all together. And I think they showed signs for sure in the last couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, they have to be the biggest threat to the Bills at this point, I would say. So they just gotta, get some wins on the board, and I think they can make some things happen this year for sure. And then for the Raiders, it just seems like every single big move they make just doesn't work out. You know what I mean? Like in recent years, just hasn't really gone in their favor. But again, like you mentioned, good draft compensation. They are a younger sort of team. So I think this does them well in the future and get some other guys some opportunities to make some plays, which is always good. So I think I agree. Both sides win with that trade. And then Amari Cooper going over to the Bills. What are your guys' thoughts on what he's going to bring to that team? They lost Diggs and Gabe Davis in the offseason. Didn't really have that number one receiver. Kincaid hasn't really made a jump too crazy just yet. So what do you guys think he brings in that they might have been missing?
Yeah, he brings that explosive veteran familiarity with Josh Allen and the playmaking ability with Amari, route running ability as well. Just open up a balanced, more spread offense with Shakir and then Coleman as well. Kincaid mixed in there as well. So just other guys besides those two, and just Josh Allen not being able to run 15 times a game and just spreading the ball out more consistently and having a veteran guy on the field that knows kind of what they're doing. So just another eyes on DBs as well.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely makes them a lot more dangerous on offense. It gives them a lot more flexibility. They're kind of limited before just based around Josh Allen and giving him the ball, having him run these RPOs, these read options, that sort of thing. And this way, he doesn't have to do that. You have that number one receiver, which we saw some success in the past, with Diggs. So I think a trade like this makes a lot of sense for the Bills, who clearly their biggest weakness we've talked about all season has been that receiving core. So this definitely strengthens that. It opens up some room for some of these other guys. Probably the reason we haven't seen a lot of production from Kincaid. He went into this season being basically their wide receiver one, and that's not his role. Now he can be that tight end, that slot guy that they're hoping he can be. So I think it just makes a lot of sense. And it'll take a lot of attention from the defense now. So and from
100%.
the Browns perspective too, they're probably going to lose him in free agency. So made sense to ship him at this point and get some compensation, and they're able to get a third round pick out of it. So
that's huge.
Not a bad move for a team that historically has made a lot of bad moves recently. So
100%. Yeah. I agree with what you guys are saying. I think he's going to bring a lot to that team. They were missing that receiving threat. This season has kind of been inconsistent. They've been able to still put some wins on the board, and their offense is still explosive, even losing some of those receivers from last year. But this just kind of bolsters them, makes them more elite, and puts them atop in terms of these teams in the AFC, strengthens them a little bit in that regard. Because you got the Chiefs, of course, undefeated right now, but they don't look too crazy offensively. So I think this just makes them much more potent and limits the likelihood that they'd run into problems with their lack of offensive consistency in the playoffs. So I think right now they look really good as a unit. Defense looks good. Offense looks good. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Amari Cooper kind of fits in and lessens the load on a guy like Kincaid and someone like Keon Coleman and Shakir, how they can kind of flourish with that move. But next topic, Justin Fields. So he's in the news this week. He could potentially be benched for Russell Wilson. They're a team, the Steelers, that have started 4-2 this season. So it's come to the surprise of many around the league. What do you guys think of this potential decision that Mike Tomlin and the coaching staff are making here with benching Justin Fields?
I think it's the decision making at the QB position.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Justin's, he's not comfortable in the pocket from what I'm seeing. His last decision is going to be, well, his first and last decision is going to be running the ball instead of dumping it off to the flat or throwing it out. So, well, I think with Russell playing, he'll bring that, veteran feel to the game as well and that leadership feel to the game as well. I feel like Russell could make the smart decision on whether or not he can throw the ball away or find the right guy down the field. And yeah, just the leadership or the veteran decision making. I think Tomlin's going to be more comfortable with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. This was kind of the tough decision that we knew they were going to have to make. Getting both of these quarterbacks. A lot of people were talking about Justin Fields, just keeping that starting job once they started to win games. But, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. He only has one interception, but, other than that, far from spectacular anywhere else. And, Russell Wilson does have that leadership, like Cittilad was mentioning. He has that proven historic winning that Justin Fields lacks. So I feel like in a team that has a situation like this where they're winning because of other parts of their team, you put in a guy like Russell Wilson, he could just hopefully take you to that next level. But, they start losing games. Don't be surprised if we see Justin Fields back out there real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he said himself, like, he feels like he didn't create enough separation for this to not be a conversation that they're having where they're speculating on even benching him. And yeah, it's definitely not entirely on him that they're a winning team right now. 4-2, their offense is not. It's a below average offense. Yards per game is not great, and the run game, all that, it's not great. So I think this is a move that was probably kind of like predetermined in a way because of when they bring in a guy like Russell Wilson. I'm sure they think that's going to address their quarterback problems, and maybe it does bring them a little bit more security, somebody that they can trust making the throws and executing Arthur Smith's offense. So for sure, though, I can see them going right back to Justin Fields if it doesn't work out, because ultimately you want to be able to be in positions to win. And not saying that Russell Wilson is somebody that can't give you that, but like wasn't the best last year. Now, obviously, gives you a veteran leader, somebody you can trust. He's been there, done that. So I see it from that perspective, but I think they definitely have somebody that they can lean back on if they decide to go back to Fields. But it can also be something like we mentioned in the past with I mentioned to Tyler in the past with Bryce Young, like how it can affect your confidence, knowing that you put your team in winning positions and you're not able to start those games going forward. So we'll see if that's the case for Fields. But hopefully, whatever decision they make, they're able to succeed. But I do want to see Fields kind of find a situation where he can thrive, because I think he has the talent. It's just about finding who he is as a quarterback. If he wants to be that rusher, if he wants to be a dual threat, like what does he want to be? But yeah.
Yeah, look at the stats for last game against the Raiders. He threw less than 30 times with 150 yards less, in the air, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He's a, run first quarterback. So, and I feel like that option is not going to work with Mike Tomlin. He wants to spread the ball, balance it out.
Yeah, and George Pickens, like I think he's been in the news for some things this year too. So I'm sure you guys. I mean, it's not like the Steelers have crazy weapons anyway, but it's like they have enough weapons to where you want to see those guys flourish and get weapons. And this has been sort of my thing when people have thrown out in the past of getting a rushing quarterback like Justin Fields in a Vikings jersey. Is like, is he going to get the most out of our receiving talent? And like I can see it from that perspective as well. So I just think if need be, they do have somebody to rely on if they want to go back to Justin Fields, because he's really a talented quarterback. It's just not as ideal for your passing game, which I mean is a priority as well. So going into the last topic before the upset pick of the week, we have little Vikings versus Lions preview. So we mentioned the Lions earlier, and what they did to the Cowboys, winning 47-9. This is a team that's been, on fire this year. Offensively, they really picked it up. Kind of had a, surprising loss, I would say, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. But besides that, they've looked really, really good. And then the Vikings, I mean, they've surprised everyone with their 5-0 start. Had a bye week last week, so now the next part of the season really starts. And this is another big test. The Vikings have had plenty of tests so far. This is another big one with the way that offense plays, and of course the Lions' defense is nothing to joke at either. Of course, also with the Aiden Hutchinson injury that plays a factor into their pass rush and things of that nature. But I'm looking forward to this matchup. I think it has a lot of implications down the road with how the NFC North has played out thus far with all these winning teams. There's potential for all those teams to even make the playoffs. So kind of what are you guys looking at with this matchup coming on Sunday?
Yeah, this matchup's going to be a good one. I feel like it's going to test the Vikings as a team. Their challenge factor. I feel like it's a rival game as well. So it's a real test to that defense as well. I know we're like almost last like in passing defense. It's because Beeflo doesn't want to give up that big play. You can throw it 20, 30 yards in the middle of the field. That's fine. But other than that, that's the only statistic on that defense. Otherwise, we're playing really good overall. It's just if we can play from behind, I want to see that because we're comfortable with playing with a lead. You know what I mean? If we can play from behind and see what that team's really about, I feel like we can beat almost any team. So going forward, especially with the Lions.
Would that be your biggest concern going into this matchup since the Vikings haven't been in that position much this year?
Yeah. I want to see them, have that adversity of playing from behind, not, playing with a comfortable lead. So
yeah,
I think that scenario could definitely happen too. It's definitely the toughest matchup we've seen, at least on paper. The Lions, obviously, very aggressive offense that could tear our defense apart if we're not careful. What we've been running all season long won't work against them. We're going to have to be, strategic with it and make some real smart decisions. And I trust our coaching staff, with this last bye week to be well prepared for this. So I think this game could come down to whichever team makes the fewest mistakes and whoever can capitalize on them the most. So could be a battle to the end.
Yeah, man. I mean, they have like no weaknesses, I would say, offensively. Like all their trick plays, like their run game is insane. David Montgomery has been crazy this year. Yeah. So that sets up the play action, of course. Not just Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got Sam Laporta. They have Tim Patrick making plays, Jameson Williams. Just so many guys out there. You got a lineman's running plays. They almost had Penei Sewell in that zone. Like, bro, it's just so many threats that they have, and Jared Goff is protecting the football. So it's very difficult. And we've seen the Vikings. I think kind of the most similar offense they probably played would be Matt LaFleur's offense to Ben Johnson's offense. With the way Jordan Love was kind of able to pick apart the Vikings offense, and that defensive those designs and those things that they were kind of doing to affect the quarterback didn't get to Jordan Love in the second half of that Packers game. So I think the Vikings definitely have to be careful, as Tyler was mentioning, on how they want to attack this team, because I feel like everybody's prepared for it, but some teams can just manage it better. And I think the Lions offense is a team that you don't want to like be too aggressive in that way with, but also you want to kind of do what you do as a defense. And I think Brian Flores said it best in his presser, fire with fire. So I think we can expect to see that sort of defensive and offensive battle, and it's going to be really good football to watch, and definitely can go all the way till the end. It's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to see both teams fight. I don't want to see a blowout.
Yeah, man. And it's
if the Vikings win by 40, that's cool too.
Yeah,
that's fine. I mean,
I'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. And with it being at home, I think that's going to be a really good environment. of course, could potentially be the return game for TJ Hawkinson. Against the team that took him out. Yeah, they said 2-week window, so it could be this week, could be next week. Kirby Joseph, of course, involved in the game, and
Brian Branch
with that. Brian Branch. They've got the defensive guys as well. I don't want to discount them without Aiden Hutchinson, and they can still make a threat on that side of the ball. Aleem McNeil. I think they have DJ Reader too. They have Anzalone, Terron Arnold making plays. They've got a lot of guys. They got Carlton Davis. And whoever you just mentioned. Hill. Yeah, they got guys, man. I mean, it's just, of course, Aiden Hutchinson was like on a defensive player of the year sort of run to start the season. Absolutely. So vital loss losing him. Hopefully he can come back and be that same elite player. But it's going to be a really good game, and I'm looking forward to seeing just how both sides of the ball kind of attack each other. Definitely like a chess match sort of game there. But do you guys see it kind of being like high scoring or defensive battle? What do you kind of see happening?
I see it's going to be offensive battle, in my opinion. It's just a matter of fact that Aaron Jones can, be 100%. That's why we brought in Cam Akers as security blanket. But yeah, if Jones can get it going, like you said, both teams eliminating mistakes on both sides of the field, offense and defense. I feel like, either team will prevail with how their system is going.
I was just saying, Jordan Love, it took him a whole half to figure out the Vikings defense, but it won't take Jared Goff that long. Packers were almost able to come back and beat us. If we let the Lions get that close, they'll take advantage and run away with it. So
yeah, Jordan Love was coming off injury too.
Answers.
Yep.
For sure. Okay, so upset pick of the weeks for week 7. I have mine, but I'll let you guys go first with these ones.
Tyler?
All right, I got the Texans over the Packers. Texans, they have some depth concerns, with their injuries and now with that Cam Akers trade, but they've looked pretty sharp so far. 4-1 up to this point, only loss being to the Vikings, of course. They beat the Bills a couple weeks ago, and they just beat the Patriots by 20. So I really think that they could beat a Packers team who hasn't looked, the best so far. Jordan Love still kind of getting into the swing of things. So I could see this being a game that Stroud and the Texans take in Lambeau.
What's the spread on that one?
Pick. Texans are +3, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Last I looked. I got. Let me double check.
I mean, yeah, that's a very even matchup, but it is on the road, so.
Yeah, no Nico as well. Yep.
All right.
Those are field goal favorite.
Gotcha. All right, Cittilad.
Yeah, my upset pick's going to be the Lions.
Is that a field goal?
That's 2.5. So
2.5. Okay.
Let me double check. Oh, 1.5 now. So
yeah, still
1.5 spread.
Okay. Yeah.
So I feel like with them, being on the road for, especially in Dallas, putting up a 40 ball, but coming to Minnesota, it's going to be the big challenge, rival game, and so going against that Beefalo defense.
Yeah,
I feel like their high-powered offense will, do something. Hate to say it, but yeah.
No, I mean, gotta be honest. I think they played. I mean, it was a different team last year, but they played really well at US Bank Stadium last year against the Vikings and against that Brian Flores defense. So could go either way. So I like that pick. For me, I have what I have. Okay. I picked the wrong week.
Oh no! Next week?
Why did I say? I said Patriots over Texans, like they played last week.
Oh no!
Okay.
Yeah, Patriots in London.
Oh my Patriots over Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Okay. Yeah, 5.5 point underdog.
The Patriots over the Texans.
Yeah, no, they're going to be in a different location. So
Vegas has your money.
Patriots over the Jaguars in London again this week for the Jaguars and the Patriots. I feel like they played decent in terms of Drake May's debut. Made some decent throws, I would say, on the day. So I think they can come in to this environment, neutral grounds, and put in a decent performance. With the way the Jaguars played in London last week, I think, again, something like this could happen. And this could kind of be the game where Drake May arrives and really puts on a good performance, and that offense as a whole really works as a unit and kind of gets this Drake May era established with the win against a team that's struggling. So I think that spread is it's kind, I would say, to the Patriots. So yeah, that's my pick.
Good little pick.
Yeah. So good little pod. Anything else we want to add on to before we close it out here?
Almost episode 100.
Oh yeah, man, we're on episode 98. Started this thing in 2022. It's kind of crazy, yeah, for sure. So we're getting there slowly,
we'll be at the 100, but surely. We'll be at the 100 episode, right?
Yeah, we'll have you guys on for episode 101. But I'm playing. Yeah, we'll see what we do for that episode. I'm gonna have to figure something out. That's a good reminder there, Tyler. But yeah, thank you guys again. As always, every episode you guys come on, bring the good energy and everything, good conversation. So appreciate you guys on as always, and we'll see how these picks go and how this Vikings game goes on Sunday. So yeah, again, appreciate you guys coming on, and I will see you guys for episode 99. Peace.
Sure. Peace.